Welcome to the No Nonsense Nutrition Podcast with Shredded Ed, Cardio Jonny, Paul C, Matt Mork Supertroll, and Brizzlehadley. The best infotainment show around, where you'll hear us joke, banter, and debunk all the nutritional myths you've heard time and time again, helping you get fit, healthy, and shredded. Right, so welcome to the No Nonsense Nutrition Podcast, and I actually got it right this time.
The first time ever.
First time ever. So today we have a very special guest in Dan Davies, aka the Flexible Dieting Coach. So yes. Welcome, Dan.
Welcome. Hello. How are you?
Great, mate.
Good. Nice to be here.
Yes. You've got the
first ever one.
Yes. You're privileged. Well, we're privileged that you're our first ever guest.
Am I?
Yes.
Really?
So, yeah, really, you're our first ever guest. So, hopefully one of many.
Well, there's so many of us on the calls normally, so we thought we'd best let somebody else have a little chat and have a little talk. And, so it's not just us. We have to keep a token Welsh guy on every chat. So.
I was not expecting a Welsh joke. Just remember, I shag them and then you eat them.
Oh, well,
true. Yeah. I don't like lamb though. I don't like lamb.
So. As long as you clean them down afterwards, it's fine with me.
I was going to say that's one of the questions at the end answered anyway.
What is it? A bestiality question or?
No, it's something about favourite protein source. But
it wouldn't have been that quick. It's 8:30. I wouldn't have thought that fast. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, tell us a bit about kind of your kind of ethos, I suppose, with your coaching. How did you get into coaching? What sort of clients do you work with? Talk about you.
How long have you got?
Keep it, within the hour.
Went to university, got a third, hated my course, trained to be a primary teacher, loved helping. So I thought, why not try and do something that I've loved? Because obviously coaching is teaching in a sense. And I came to the realization that if I could teach a 6-year-old maths, then I could teach an adult anything. So that's how it fell into place. Obviously, I've been training since I was 16 years old. I'm now 24. So what's that, 9 years? Maths isn't my strong point. And yeah, it just literally went from there. Started doing the course and things on the side while I was still sort of in school, and luckily I was getting online coaching from Shredded by Science, and they really did teach me sort of everything I needed to know. So I sort of did fall into the good side of the industry, shall we say, because as we all know, there's a lot of bullshit out there. Myths, misconceptions, whatnot. And yeah, that's how it started. So it started with online, packed it in with school then, because to be honest, I was not enjoying it whatsoever. And yeah, the rest is history. Started working in a gym, opened my own coffee shop in that gym, actually, in a protein bar.
Yeah.
I'm going to go into detail as to what happened, because again, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I think the bailiffs came in overnight. Fuck it, I'll say it. It wasn't my gym. It was someone else's gym. And yeah, so we had to pack that in, move gyms, and now I'm in probably one of the best gyms in Cardiff. It's amazing. It's UFit. If you're ever there, pop in. And stuff that I'm doing, and just enjoying all of it, the whole coaching people, that sort of aspect, seeing people get results, and the whole sort of vlogging aspect as well. So there's a lot of different avenues and stuff, and yeah, that's how it all happened. And here I am today on my first ever podcast. So I did
not know you ran a coffee shop. Or you had your own coffee shop.
It was incredible. It was the best coffee ever. It was from Clifton in Bristol.
Yeah.
Used to get it from them. And yeah, I really do miss that because I haven't had as good of a coffee since then, really.
I've been to Clifton a few times, actually. There's some good places around there, actually, like coffee shops.
Mm. I'd recommend going into actual Clifton themselves. Because yeah, their coffee is really, really good. And I'm a bit of I say I'm a snob, but if I am stuck for time, I will have an instant. So I can't really call myself. Okay, boys,
I will have an instant.
Don't judge.
Go on, what's your favourite?
So,
what's your
yeah.
go-to instant then? What's your go-to instant?
Oh,
Go-to is the Lidl special. Actually, it's I don't even know what it's called. It's just like a little small pot with coffee in it.
Wow,
Funny.
revolutionary.
And yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Yeah.
Fair enough.
You
Okay.
like coffee, don't you?
Everybody
I'm a
likes
big coffee drinker. Yeah, I am. I do drink instant a lot, only for convenience, but obviously it's just what it is, isn't it? I'd be fair, I just drink decaf instant most of the time, just because it tastes like shit anyway. I might as well have decaf. So
Yeah, I've got decaf as well. Again from Lidl, and it's got coffee in it. So
I go for the Alzira tins. I don't know if you've had those. Is it Kenko? I think that makes
yeah,
them.
I don't like those. They're too powdery. They're very
Depends how much you
fine,
put in,
isn't
I
it?
suppose.
Now the coffee itself isn't granulated. It's like really fine powder, isn't it? The
yeah.
Azira. Oh, no, goes weird.
V60s, do you boys drink any of that?
Say that again?
V60s, pour overs?
No.
You need to get into that. Get
Okay.
into it. It will
Okay.
change your coffee experience. It literally smashes you for 6, honestly. Much stronger than probably the other stuff that you've had.
Yeah, I think I drink coffee more for the taste side. When I was prepping, I did drink 3 or 4 a day just for the stimulant aspect. But I think now I just drink it for the taste and for habit. I think more than anything. One in the morning, and that's pretty much it. Unless somebody's making one in the afternoon at work or whatever. I enjoy the flavour, I suppose.
What about Monster Energy?
Never been an energy drinks person. I don't even take like a pre-workout or anything. Just like the flavours of all that kind of like mashed. Yeah,
Look
just
at that. He's itching to say, I love them.
Too fucking many. Mate, you've seen my Instagram. There's too many of them. To be honest, I started actually taking pre-workout a bit more regularly because I just found myself buying a can of Monster every day. I was like, I don't know why I'm spending like £1.20 on a can of Monster when I could actually buy something with some proven ingredients that work for like 30p a serving. That's like ridiculous. I said, but I do like a can of Monster, I must admit. I like the taste of it. So trying to get off it, trying to wean myself off my habit. Because it ain't good.
Favourite flavour?
Right, citrus, yellow. They're like the lemonade one, number 1. Number 2, red ultra.
Yeah, that's
Number
mine.
3, white ultra.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'll drink the blue sugar-free one. I don't drink any of the ones that got sugar in or calories in them. But yeah, I've had the juiced ones. Big no, not a fan of those. Although I have heard the rehab with the iced tea rehab one. Have you seen that?
No,
That's supposed to be pretty good. It's only about 50 calories a pop as well, so that's quite good.
That's all right. I can do
Yeah, especially man of your calories. I'm sure you can afford a lot of stuff. So
No, 2. I'm down to 2.2 now. Actually,
ooh, bingo.
That's what I'm on.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's getting tough. 12,000 steps as well, and I've got this. It's a Withins watch, so it's not a Fitbit.
I've seen that.
Have you heard of these?
Yeah, I've seen them. I saw in John Lewis. I had a look at one actually. I quite like the look of them. They look like a proper watch, don't they?
Yeah, that's why I bought it. And literally, 12,000 steps on this is like 21,000 steps on a Fitbit. So I think they're far more accurate. Yeah, because they don't. Obviously, when you're,
when you do what? Keep it clean.
When you're dusting, when you're doing the dusting at home.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Go on.
Go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, I wonder whether we should actually get into some content. I don't know how long we've been on here for, but we should probably speak.
Let's do it. We can add this. We can talk about coffee and Fitbits.
Yes. People might be interested. It's just some good value for people. Obviously, we brought you on the podcast because we want you to really talk about kind of flexible dieting versus maybe kind of what we might consider more rigid dieting. So I don't know if you want to just go into kind of what your thoughts are in almost defining each one. So just get a quick brief overview of what flexible dieting is and what kind of rigid dieting is.
Flexible dieting, to me, and I think for the majority of people, is, in a nutshell, you can eat whatever you want. It is that in a way, and that's, as an outsider looking in, maybe if you're not into fitness and you stumble across an IIFYM page, you are going to look at that page and you're going to be like, yeah, I can eat anything and get into shape. So again, it depends on who you stumble across who preaches IIFYM and flexible dieting, because as we all know, there are some who are on that end of the scale who will literally try and eat anything into their nutrition and try and make progress. And then you've got the other ones who are a little bit more balanced. And by balanced, I mean maybe use the sort of 70-30 rule, where it's 70% clean food, shall we say, and then the other 30% is sort of, foods that you'd consider as junk. Because, as you know, probably watching this podcast, you know that a little bit of junk every now and again won't do you any harm, so long as it's sort of tracked and accounted for. And then you have the clean eaters, so the rigid sort of dieters, and again, they will perceive junk food as the devil, shall we say. So things like sugar, again, sort of not eating out and whatnot. And again, it's not a bad attitude to have in a way. But then again, if you go too far that way, then as we know, it can have detrimental effects, negative sort of outlook on food. So yeah, I mean, that is hopefully a brief overview of what I perceive it as, anyway.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, I suppose like rigid dieting, Ed, I don't know if you want to chip in on this, but rigid dieting, I kind of feel like it is kind of the whole clean eating thing where you're kind of rigid in the types of food you'd allow yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas,
sorry, carry on.
No, you're right. You go.
I was going to say, yeah, like definitely, and kind of, I suppose, like meal plans and stuff like that kind of come into it, and I suppose it depends on looking at the kind of populations you're working with and talking to and stuff as well. I find kind of like the whole bodybuilding scene, a lot of like the terms get thrown around a lot in that, and then also you see a lot of the kind of the more rigid approaches as well with the meal plans and stuff. And then kind of looking at more like a general kind of population, I think, yeah, the clean eating is a massive thing. Like, I can't eat that. It's got a bit of sugar in it. It's like, oh God, no. Somebody likes, that little bit of sugar is going to kill you, sort of thing. It's, yeah. I think also, like, what do you think on sort of time as well? So, not just kind of the food you eat, but you've got to eat. It's been 3 hours. I've got to eat, or I've got a window where I can eat. Like, what do you think? Just sort of flexibility about that as well.
Again, it's a sort of hole I've been in before where I was like, I need to eat every 3 hours because if I don't, I'm going to lose my muscle, And it's looking back, it's mental. It's ridiculous when you think about it logically, and you learn from people in the industry because, like you said, reverting to bodybuilders, it does come from that and it does stem from that. And as much as people say, oh, there's so much information out there and everyone knows what to do, it's like, no, they don't, because people still believe this. People still think that meal timing is just as important as calories in versus calories out, where we know it does play a small part. I think it does play a tiny, tiny part. I mean, I think there's a few sort of studies out there that show that I think it's three sort of, to maximize protein synthesis is like 3 to 4 feedings of like 30 to 40 grams, something along the lines of that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But then again, you have to think, is that realistic? Am I actually going to be able to achieve that? What if I'm only eating 2 meals a day? So it's like you have to, in terms of clients, you have to put yourself in their shoes. You're not going to tell a mother of two, oh, listen, love, we're going to be eating 4 meals a day, 40 grams of protein in each one every single day. It's not a bad benchmark to aim for, because obviously I think the majority of people do need more protein in their diet. But yeah, again, I'm rambling on a bit. But meal timing, I don't think it's important. But again, it's up to the individual, their lifestyle, whatever their job is, if they've got a family or whatnot. It's what works for that individual more than sticking to something.
Would you say then, maybe like a lot of things in the fitness industry, in that it's not necessarily important, but maybe there is if you want it to be like an optimal approach? So like, 90% of your, I suppose 90% of it's done by just hitting your protein target, for example, because we're talking about protein. Whereas obviously if you want like an extra few percentage, then maybe timing it is a bit more important if you just want to eke out that tiny bit of extra.
I think again, this comes down to mindset and where you want to go with your fitness. So someone who's a natural bodybuilder will always strive for that extra sort of 2-3%, because it's about competition for them at the end of the day. Maybe that 2-3% will enable them to win a show, and then that 2% is massive come the end of the day. Yeah, as Gen Pop, guys like us who just like to train just to look good naked, I don't think, no, it's not going to make that much of a difference, if I'm being totally honest, and I don't think it really does matter.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so just bring it back to kind of the rigid dieting versus, I don't want to say versus actually, but original dieting differences to flexible dieting. I guess you could also say that actually, kind of, you brought about the example of bodybuilders. Actually, that's probably quite a rigid diet. The fact that they're sticking to certain foods, not necessarily even all clean foods, but obviously they're kind of very, typically bodybuilders really structured, very consistent, kind of have a measured approach and all these different things they do. That's quite a rigid diet. So how would you think it affects their psychology of stuff? And are there any detriments to that side, maybe?
Did you say Ed or me? I couldn't
Either.
Well, you go first.
Go on, Ed. You go first.
I think you can become almost orthorexic of thinking about things because, like, I know I've done it myself, and whether you're diet, as soon as you mention the word diet or something like that, that's it. You become so food focused, and if you're kind of thinking, oh, next meal's in 3 hours or whatever, it does mess with your mind massively. And Dan, you were saying you're dieting now at the moment. Brett, you've just come out of a bit of a mini cut. So we've all kind of been there within the last month or so, really. And as soon as you mention that word, like, I don't know, you become so food focused, and even more when there is that deadline. So, I mean, it may not be stepping on stage. You may have a deadline of a holiday and you just want to be in the best shape you can for a holiday, or I don't know, whatever your goal is. It does mess with your mind, and I think there's no two ways about it, but I think it's just being flexible with things and being like, well, if I don't eat until tonight and it's the morning now, like, it's not the end of the world. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but it messes with your mind. And I think kind of having that flexibility and not being like, well, I've got to eat this meal here and I've got to eat this meal then, it allows you to kind of switch off from food a little bit more, I think. So you can go off and have a day out with the kids or whatever, and not sort of stress too much.
I agree.
Definitely, and like you said there, I think the word diet is a big stigma behind it these days, because I don't necessarily like the word, because I feel that when the Gen Pop think of the word diet, they think of, I just think of it as when my mum used to tell me that, I'm going on a diet, and then her diet would consist of like a Ryvita with like some fucking, I don't know what the fuck.
Cucumber.
Yeah, it's like, see that. And it was about 4 of them a day. She'd lose a stone, bless her, in a week, and then she'd go back to her normal eating habits, and she'd put the fucking stone back on again and start the cycle again. We know how it is. So,
I think that probably sits into quite nicely in terms of okay. So, in terms of because we are talking about rigid versus flexible dieting, what do you think would be better in your opinion, if you think there is a better way?
If I had to choose one,
if you had to, yes, go on.
I'd 100% always go with a flexible approach. Me personally, I would. But I know for a fact, again, there's nothing wrong with being rigid as well. That's what we also need to remember. Like, rigidness does work for some people, and they like that all or nothing attitude. And I think in bodybuilding types of sort of personnel, those types of people, I think they need that rigidness, because when you're taking your body to that extreme, the flexibility does sort of go out of the window. You are not going to be able to go out for food, even if you are flexible dieting, as much, because you get into that sort of OCD mindset where it's like, no, I can't do that because I've got a show coming up. I don't want to look shit on stage, sort of thing. So me personally, because I know what I'm like, I'd always pick the flexible approach, because I've done the clean eating route when I was many years ago now, and it drove me insane, like Ed was saying earlier, thinking about that next meal. Those 3 hours where I was, they say, 9 o'clock and the second meal was at 12 o'clock, those 3 hours, it was just food on the brain, and it was shit. I hated every single second of it. And now it's like, some days I'll eat at 9 o'clock and then my next meal won't be until 8, 9 o'clock in the evening. And, looking back, and when you think back, it's like, holy shit, I used to fret and stress over this if I didn't eat my meal in between. And it's like, you live and learn, and it's probably a lot of people reading this who have been in the same boat. Maybe they're reading this, listening to this.
I'm not
who are
typing up
really
the keynotes for this.
yeah, so yeah, if I had to choose one, again, off on a massive tangent, flexible dieting every single day.
Just quickly, for those who this is the first time they've ever heard the term flexible dieting, kind of what ways can you be flexible with your diet? Food choices, like say timings. What are all the different ways you can be flexible?
Many ways. I think a lot of it is the foods that you eat. I think the typical bodybuilding type diet, when someone would, well, if I look at as an outside looking in, it's what, chicken, rice, broccoli. If you look at people like Kai Green, like he's a massive inspiration for some people, that sort of audience, then yeah, it's rice, chicken, broccoli. And then with flexible dieters, people like Alberto Nunez, it's like everything. It's like no food is off limit. So the actual food that you can eat is one. Second one is things like social outings. You know that you can go out with flexible dieting, and with a bit of practice, you can eyeball certain sort of foods that you're eating and just estimate and track it in. Whereas if you're a clean eater and a rigid eater who follows a diet plan, that's not possible because you've got that plan. You're sticking to that plan. If you go to a social outing and you eat something that's not on your plan, you're going over your calories and macros. So again, it's that as well. And again, for anyone who's listened to this who's got like a girlfriend or a wife and kids and whatnot, then obviously that's going to be a much easier way to diet for you guys. And yeah, I mean, it is in terms of timing as well. There's no right or wrong with flexible dieting, so long as you're hitting your numbers at, come the end of the day. Where again, with rigid dieting, sometimes if you won't be hungry yet, you have to have that meal for. And it's like, I'm not even hungry, but I have to have that meal for because it's on my plan, and I'm going to lose all my gains if I don't have it. So
you kind of mentioned there about hitting your numbers, hitting your targets. Like we full well know you're talking about calories and your kind of calorie target for the day, and we've kind of touched upon that in previous episodes and talked about that. But would you say that you can be a flexible dieter without tracking your calories?
Most definitely, yeah. But I always would stress some practice beforehand, because again, some guy, let's say for example, he comes and wants online coaching, before he sort of goes and does it without tracking, he's going to have some practice first. And I always stress that, because when people do start tracking, it's like they'll pour some olive oil in and they say, shit, I did not realize that there was that much calories in olive oil. Whereas before they've just been spreading it all on, and now they're a lot more sort of mindful as to how much they're putting on. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely 100% possible, but there needs to be that little bit of practice first. And then once you have that practice, you can most definitely sort of intuitively eat. I think that's a big thing now as well on social media, is intuitive eating, where people are sort of eating sort of at free will. But what these people who are outsiders looking in don't realize is that they've had this practice before, which allows them to be able to do that. So yeah, it's 100% possible.
I think that's a very good point, actually, in that I don't really I don't go along with kind of intuitive eating for a lot of people, because I don't believe in today's society that we're very well built to kind of eat to hunger almost, or because it's like we've got too many hyperpalatable foods around, too much available to us. It's just so easy to overeat, which is kind of demonstrated in the obesity numbers that we have. So I feel like having either a very direct tracking approach, or at least having some practice, as you say, where you can kind of get a real education in terms of the energy density of food. You could almost have to kind of listen to the education side of your brain almost, rather than listen to the side that's telling you, oh, you're hungry, I want to eat, because we just don't really kind of, what I'm looking to say, we don't really kind of acknowledge our own hunger signals very well. I don't think. That's my opinion. I certainly, like, if n equals one kind of anecdote, I am awful. I've got no real kind of natural hunger signals over time. Like if I ate to intuitive eating, to my own natural hunger signals, I'd be eating all the fucking time. Like genuinely, I would. So I need something like flexible dieting to allow me to kind of almost override those natural hunger signals, to keep in some sort of, just moderation. It's just, I need it. I guess that's probably pretty common, would you say?
No, I definitely agree with you with that, because I can definitely relate to that as well. Like, I haven't got sort of, if I'm not cutting, for example, I could easily rack up 5,000-6,000 calories a day when I actually track in, and that's not me sort of underestimating. I could genuinely eat 5,000-6,000 calories because I love food. There's food everywhere, like you mentioned. You walk into Starbucks and it's like, oh, here's a coffee. Would you like a cake with that? And it's like, there's food always there. Like,
the answer is yes, I fucking would.
Yeah. So we're surrounded by food, and like you said, we are getting. I'd say we are getting sort of greedier as not only a nation but just as human beings. But that's because things are widely available to us, like food. We can get it whenever, wherever. So there's no sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no wonder that we are sort of currently undergoing an obesity epidemic because it's because it's so widely available.
If we were so good at intuitive eating without having, practicing looking at what calories are going into foods, then why are we all fat?
And why there would be no MyFitnessPal.
Yeah, the best thing on earth.
Best ever.
Do you think there are instances where flexible dieting can almost be harder than rigid dieting then?
100%. I think there's a lot of people who can't diet without it being rigid. They have to have that someone telling them, no, you're not allowed this week. Here's your diet plan. And I think a lot of people, Jamie Alderton, for example, I'm not sure if you guys listen to this know him, but he's the kind of guy from the military. And although he does flexible diet, he creates diet plans with flexible foods in that diet plan. So again, it depends what background you come from, maybe how you've been brought up and whatnot. But some people, they will never get flexible dieting. And what people need to understand is that is okay. Like, it is okay not to be able to flexible diet, and it is okay to stick to rigid dieting. But just give it a go. Give flexible dieting a go, because a lot of people, I think, don't give it a go, and they just instantly think that sugar will make me fat. I'm not going to eat sugar, and it's like, just give it a go. You'll see that you won't get fat, and then you'll probably start enjoying it. I think people are quite stuck in their ways, especially in terms of nutrition and dieting.
Do you find some clients that when you do allow them to be flexible, that almost like turns on and on button for them, and that they then want or crave more, and therefore maybe the rigid diet might be more appropriate because it's all kind of like an all or nothing kind of scenario?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's more of an excitement that gets them because they're so used to dieting in a certain way where they've been sort of restricting themselves. And then when they switch to flexible dieting, they get all excited and they try making sort of recipes and get creative in the kitchen, and then they end up overeating, and then they beat themselves up and try to undercut calories the next day and whatnot. And then that can lead an individual down a horrible, shitty path. Do you know what I mean?
Very quickly on that. So say somebody has done that, they've gone way over the calories of eating 2 days worth of calories in one day. Is there a way of being flexible to get out of that, or do you need to be a bit more rigid and be quite hard on yourself to keep yourself in that deficit for the week, but sort of and come out of it okay at the end?
Again, from a personal sort of perspective, myself, I would probably, if that did ever happen, I probably would go a whole day without eating the next day because I know that I can do it. But if a client was to do that, I'd probably just tell. It depends where they were at. If they were sort of deep into the cut, then we'd try and make amendments, maybe do a bit more cardio the next day to sort of limit the damage. But again, if a client wanted to maybe fast all day the next day, then they could. But I think, where am I going with this again?
More around overcorrecting, overeating, I think is.
Yeah. Sorry, that's fucking going off tangent then. Yeah, I think you can correct it. But I think the goal is to obviously not do it in the first place. And again, that a lot of that comes down to mindset and just being strict with yourself, like you said, Ed. And I think that's what it comes down to a lot of the time, is that some people will always go over their calorie intake, regardless as to where they're at. And that's because they don't, as bro as this sounds, they don't want it enough. They say that they want to get into shape, but when shit or push comes to shove, I think that's the right word, they just haven't got it in them. They don't know how to deal with hunger. Again, that can come with experience, but I think a lot of people think that the goal is exciting and they want to get there. They want shredded abs. They want to sort of look good naked, but when push comes to shove, they just can't do it. And they will never be able to do it, unfortunately, but it's all a learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. It's kind of made me think about a question that wasn't one I had planned to ask, but it's something we've talked about before in our group around, like, just on the overcorrection almost topic.
Yeah.
What's kind of your thoughts on the psychology of kind of almost earning your treats? So we talk about flexible foods, flexible dieting. Yeah, yeah, it's just that same question, really, I suppose. Like, what are your thoughts on, like, should people be allowed to have them without having to exercise or earn those kind of things, or is it a case of actually it's a good idea to almost earn them?
Again, it depends, and it depends on what. Again, I'm talking from a coaching point of view. If a client comes to me and their eating habits are absolutely terrible, sometimes, and I have done it in the past, I will ban a food. If I know the client, enjoys the hyperpalatable foods, like you said, like crisps and chocolate, and they're buying them in multi-packs and they're eating the whole pack and whatnot, I put an instant ban on them, because if they're not there, they are not going to eat it. It is quite as simple as that. But in terms of earning their treats, having to do like 400 calories worth of cardio in order to eat a muffin, it's like, I think it's not a great mindset to be in, but it can work as well sometimes. It all depends on the individual, I think, and what their habits, like how educated they are in terms of their nutrition, what their sort of mindset and relationship with food is. I mean, if the relationship is pretty shitty with food, then more than likely they probably will do extra cardio in order to eat extra food, and knowing that they can have that little bit of muffin if they save calories for it.
It's kind of almost like a Weight Watchers approach, isn't it? They kind of do that. Oh, this cake is so many points, and to earn that many points, you have to do this much walking. And I think that's part of Weight. Is it Weight Watchers? I think that they do that.
I don't know. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, but anyway, quick question for me: do you thinking about how the listeners are going to listen to this, and we're talking about kind of the rigid dieting versus the flexible dieting? Can somebody do a bit of both, or is it all or nothing? If that makes sense? Yeah.
Well, again, I'll revert to myself. Over these last few weeks, I have been very rigid with my diet. It's been Greek yogurt with protein mixed in, first meal of the day. Second meal of the day has been chicken with salad with like 400 grams of potatoes, tinned tomatoes with a bit of spice all stirred up. And then meal 3 has been sort of mince, like a mince burger with portobello mushrooms with some cheese in there, and again with potatoes, like 400 grams of potatoes. And that's been my staple sort of go-to meal, especially Monday to Friday, because it works for me over these last sort of 3 to 4 weeks. But before that, I was a lot more flexible. It was a lot more sort of oats in there, treats and dark chocolate and whatnot. But again, yeah, I think a combination of both is probably where it's sort of best met, because like I mentioned at the start of this, you go on some people's Instagrams and it's just junk. It's junk and junk and junk, and someone looking at that who wants to lose weight thinks, I can eat his junk.
Are you calling me out?
I'm calling you out. Yeah, treats and Monster Energies every single day.
Yeah, Martin McDonald did that at the conference. I don't know if you noticed. He said about, if you're a coach, don't just spend all your time on social media posting pictures of all the good foods that you want to eat. And that's it. I even got messages off 2 different people, like there and then on Facebook, saying, "Is he calling you out?" I was like, "Bastard!"
What about?
I think kind of what you were saying there could work quite well for most people. Kind of fail at the weekend, don't they? I suppose if they were to look at their week as a flexible week, they'd be a bit more rigid throughout the Monday to Friday when it's easy to keep routine, and then you can enjoy those foods like maybe a takeaway or maybe a meal out with the missus the weekend. And I suppose you could look at it flexible dieting in that approach, as in kind of marrying the two of a rigid week and a more of a flexible weekend.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I'm just going to give a quick little tip in here for any of you listening to this. I know you two probably know this already, but if you do find yourself wanting more food in the weekend, just eat less throughout the week and give yourself that much or that extra bit of food. I know, but a lot of people don't think.
I know.
It's like if you are overeating on the weekend, just cut back on calories for the week, give it to yourself on the weekend, and you'll probably start losing weight again and feeling better.
I had a client that I was, I don't coach any longer, but I was coaching for about 6 months, who had a job where he travelled a lot internationally. And he'd go to a place like Israel and God knows where he just had places where he had no idea what food he was going to have access to or do. And that's exactly that. I just said, look, mate, before you go, we'll get you on lower calories before you go, in terms of because it was generally quite often, even weekly, you'd be travelling for 2 or 3 days of the week. So we'll just cut your calories on Sundays to allow you more flexibility on those days that you're going to have less choice. There is no more difficult than that. And it opened his eyes up. And to be honest, for that reason, he kind of almost just didn't need me anymore, because it just opened his eyes up to actually I can do this. This is quite a simple thing to kind of manage nutrition. It's not a difficult process. And yeah, it's interesting you say it, because that's it works like Ed, like you said, the weekend warrior kind of approach that we have, where people just smash pizzas and beers on weekends. It works well, just cutting calories in the week and just allowing a bit more leeway at the weekend. So,
and if that means suffering and being hungry, tough shit. You're the one who wants to eat more on the weekend. So cut them and start making progress.
Right. I think we're nearly on to the fun part. If that wasn't fun, that was definitely fun.
That was fun. I really enjoyed it. It was really good.
Yeah, I have got one more question I wrote down about slightly off topic. Yeah. If you can talk to me about adrenal fatigue and how that relates to I want to know kind of what was the biggest success you've had with a client.
Okay.
And how or why.
Okay.
So is there one standout? Is there one standout? Take all the time. We can cut the white noise, mate. So don't worry.
Okay.
I kind of don't know if I threw that last minute. I don't know if it was on there or not. But
okay. I think it's not one client in particular, but it's when a client comes to you and they're without even asking them and without even talking to them on Facebook and giving them the advice. Maybe you've given it to them in the past, but they'll just come to you on the Monday when they do their feedback, and it's I sort of cut calories down to 800 or whatever on Friday because I knew I was out on Saturday. And it's the aha moment is
bingo.
And it's amazing. You've just taken all of that into consideration for yourself without me having to sort of hold your hand and guide you through it. You've just taken the initiative, you've forward thought, and somehow you've thought about this, and it's an aha moment. And
that's a great example, actually.
Yeah, it's really when a client starts thinking for themselves, because at the end of the day, you are there for a reason, but you're never going to work with a client forever. It's about educating them and then getting them to go off on their own path. And I think when you can do that, it's job done. Give yourself a pat on the back. Happy days. So yeah, I'd probably say that.
It ties in quite nicely with the whole flexible dieting thing as well. So nice.
Any more questions, Ed?
No, I just kind of chimed in as and when things popped into my head.
Cool.
Let's get on to it.
So with guests, just to make this a bit fun, like I said, we've got a few random questions, nothing too mad, but what's your favourite flexible food? So you've got to pick one.
Well, one singular item?
No, we can say meal if it has to be, but...
You boys are going to laugh. Dark chocolate with Greek yogurt and oats.
You sad bastard.
Overnight oats?
Nope, just hot from the thing.
Oh, okay.
Dark chocolate all melts, mix it all up. That is my favourite.
Okay, all right.
try that for
That's
breakfast
because
tomorrow?
I think if you'd have asked me 6 months ago, it would have been something different. But because I'm dieting now, like anything's good. If
Okay,
I took a
yeah,
shit,
yeah,
eat my own shit, that would probably be good.
yeah.
It's okay.
You've
Because
just described you've just described Walden Farms, haven't you?
yeah, Walden Farms is honking. Hate it.
Yeah. It's
I
like when you're dieting. Oh, this chocolate sauce tastes lovely.
Yeah, yeah.
You have an abundance of food. And what the fuck is this I'm eating? This is disgusting.
It's exactly like that. Yeah, like your taste buds just become different, don't they? When you're dieting.
Okay, so what was your favourite bulking flexible food then?
Probably a Chinese.
Chinese. Okay.
And Nutella. Chinese.
Any particular Chinese? What's your favourite dish?
Sweet and sour chicken, Hong Kong style, with chips. I'm a big fan of sort of Chinese chips. I don't know why. It's so greasy. It's just you get stuck in, don't you?
You get the crunchy ones at the end of the bag. They always put them in a paper bag as well, don't they? Like
Vinegar. Oh, don't! It's making me.
Ed, what's your favourite diet flexible food then? Let's ask you, and your favourite bulking flexible food.
Me.
No, Ed.
Oh,
Ed,
you put me on the spot. Come back to me. I need to think. Come on,
well, I'll do mine because my favourite bulking food is quite clearly burgers. My favourite dieting food is probably also burgers.
I was going to say the same. I've had burgers 4 nights this week. Yeah.
My Instagram is just burgers and protein bars, so maybe that's my bulk and my flexible foods actually.
Yeah.
Although I tend to eat less protein bars when I'm dieting actually because they just do not satiate you. So
I really like a mixed grill. I think that's my bulking one. There's no way you can fit a mixed grill into a diet, no matter. Well, you could starve for a week, I suppose, but I really, really like a mixed grill. Dieting food, just making interesting burgers. I think with kind of the calories you can. It's all good fun and games.
Cool. That leads well anyway. So Dan, favorite burger joint or best burger joint you've ever visited? I'm waiting.
Okay. I'm going to say probably a Five Guys.
You motherfucker!
Why?
You weren't set up for that, were you?
Why?
Oh God! Right, there's an ongoing battle between probably me and Matt Morgan and Tom Hall and Dan Meek.
Yeah.
Where those two fucking bellends love a Five Guys, and I was like,
with them, Team Five Guys.
Mate, you're obviously just deprived like those two then, because if you've ever had a Blecker Street, a Patty and Bun, a Burger and Beyond, even like Meat Liquor or all of those places, they're all way better than Five Guys.
Do you want me to piss you off even more?
Go on.
I have never heard of any of them.
You're not hipster enough, mate. You've got a beard and a man bun. You should be. You should be
well
all over. And you like coffee. So you should be all over the burger joints.
Honestly, never heard of any of them.
How often do you go to London?
Not very.
Okay, next time you do, let me know and I'll hook you up some awesome burgers. Actually, how do you like burgers and shakes?
Yeah, love them. Oh, Shake Shack's good. I like a Shake Shack.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not on the level of the people, all the places I've just said, but on Ed, what's the date of the festival? Is it 13th of August, something like that? It's a Sunday, isn't it?
Yeah, mid-August. Yeah,
I think it's the 13th of August. There's a festival in London called Shake Your Patty, and it's all about burgers and shakes. Get on it and come because we're going. So we'll hook up and we'll try some burgers. So
let's keep in touch after this, and I would be game for that.
Yeah, cool.
Send you the link.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. It'd be awesome to have you there. So there's a few of us going. Hopefully, like the other guys on the podcast should hopefully be coming.
You can get a train with Jonny from Port Talbot.
Yeah. He's the other token Welsh guy that we normally have. So.
What they call it now, boys? It stinks there.
Sorry. Here's something. I've never been to Wales.
Well, you need to come to Cardiff and train. We'll go for Five Guys.
Yeah, we can actually, because Ben Warren, so he was in Peterborough there last week, I think, wasn't he? And he messaged me and said, "Can you come?" And I was like, "Oh, mate, I'd love to, but I can't make it this week because it's only it's about an hour and a half. AM45 from where I am in Norwich." So I was like, "Oh, let's meet up," but yeah, it just didn't happen. So that was a bit disappointing. So it'd be quite cool to come see you both.
Yeah, I'm doing a recipe book with them.
Well, I was going to give you a chance to plug it at the end, mate.
Oh.
So let's plug that at the end. So let's go through some more questions then. So actually, Ed, best burger.
Let me go and put this on charge. 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Best burger joint. Oh man. Like, if they're greasy and it runs down my chin, like, that's pretty good.
Original Pac-Man, come on.
Yeah, I mean, the wherever we went in Birmingham, that was good. That was good. Problem is, like, I've had them in like country pubs when you get the real kind of like 3 inches deep burger with a nice big crispy piece of bacon on top. Like, I love those types of burgers, like triple cut chips with them. But I can't think where they're even from. So.
It's not OPM.
Stop fucking talking about food. I'm starving.
Is that? He's got to get the casing in, Gaines. Come on. He's got. It's water.
This is BCAAs. He's been talking for too long.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Because I'm on a higher refeeds today, I need to see whether or not I feel I look full, either the morning after or the night. So that's why I'm having to go for pisses all the time.
How long away is your shoot? You say?
17 days now.
Oh, it's not. Oh, have you been dieting for 21 weeks? Have you?
Hmm.
Is that what it was? Oh, I thought you said it's that far away. I was thinking, all right, how long are you dieting for to get there?
40-week cut.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's like a 40-week cut to get to a photo shoot. Christ.
Who are you shooting with?
This guy from Cardiff. He's called Fabian Bedard. Up and coming.
Yeah.
He's not very big.
Yeah, no. Oh, no, there's another guy from Wales with a funny name, a bit like that I've heard of, yeah. No.
Maybe it is him. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Right. Best piece of advice. Dan, this is for you, by the way. I know you ran off, but best piece of advice you've ever been given? Or I'll accept like read or found somewhere, or given if someone gave it to you. But
I think it's probably from Martin McDonald. Around 2 to 3 years ago, he put the post up he put a sort of chart up in Lift the Bar, where the weekend calorie thing, where just cut calories down on the week if you like more food on the weekend. So probably that, and I've used that a lot with not only myself but with clients with great success as well. Mm-hmm. So I'd probably say that.
Cool. Ed?
I suppose not. Well, it kind of is nutrition related. It's just kind of very general though. Just start. Whatever it is, just start. Stop putting it off. Don't wait till Monday. Just start.
I like that. I do like that. I do. To be fair, one of my pet peeves. In fact, I had this conversation with someone today at work in the office around cholesterol, because he's having his cholesterol levels checked and he's starting to panic that they're in poor shape. And I said, well, to be honest, mate, the biggest thing you can do is probably lose a bit of weight. And obviously, I put it pretty tactfully.
But to business card.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, just mainly because he said, well, because I know that I'm now going to have to kind of go on a better diet over the next however long. He's been out every night having fucking meals out and just binging before. I said, why don't you start now instead of, like the analogy is always like, I think Ben Carpenter once posted, which stuck in my mind, where he said something about like that equivalent of like, I'll start on Monday kind of scenario is, I need to start saving some money. So over this weekend, I'll go out and buy as much shit as I possibly can before I start saving on Monday. It's like a retarded mindset to have, but we all have it. Like I've done it. We've all done it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I had that exact conversation with him. It's like, just start now, mate. Stop waiting, because you're only going to make it harder later on. But anyway, ran over.
Good, That was good.
Yeah. That must be a bald thing. It's like me and Meek. We like to rant. Actually, I'll answer it for myself as well. Actually, I think the best bit of advice, I don't know if it's advice, but I think I mentioned this when we talked about how we all got onto our almost like nutrition journey. But I stumbled across like the IFYM website, or IFYM.com. And that was like a bit like what you talked about earlier, Dan. I just stumbled across, what? I can eat pizza and get shredded? What the fuck? And it's just like, wow, what is this? I need to know what this is. And that's basically probably the best advice I get, because it literally changed my life. Like, that's the only time I ever really got into any sort of shape, because I just realised calories actually matter. It's not like I was the typical, like a lot of people just low carb or clean eating or whatever. But yeah, that's probably my biggest bit of advice / info. And
if you didn't discover that, you wouldn't have any of your followers.
Probably. You are probably right. You know what? Did you see my post around stirring the chocolate oats?
Yeah.
That's got I'm nearly on. I think I've hit 10,000 views now on that. Staring Boots, 10,000 views. How's that even happen? But
Crazy.
yeah, it is. This one's a really good question. I really like this one. This is Ed's one that he gave me. No, I'm not really going to say that. That's not for podcast material, wasn't it? Dan, we'll tell you what, when we finish recording, we'll ask you this off here. This one is actually safe for work. So would you rather be attacked by one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? Now, just picture the scene. One massive horse-sized duck. And bear in mind, horses are fucking big. They are big things. Right?
Cool.
If you must have shitload of horses in Wales around the sheep.
Sheep, isn't it?
Yeah, well, around the sheep. I think there must be some sort of horses, farms horses. But so they are big, or loads of stocky, muscular little horses, like 100 of them.
Probably the horses, because I could just fucking hoof them as hard as I could.
Have you seen how stocky are horses and how muscular horses?
Yeah, but they're smaller, aren't they? You can just put your foot through it. Have you ever tried kicking a medicine ball? It'd probably be like that.
Yeah, it hurt. I don't actually. Yeah, this is why I'm kind of trying to argue with your rationale of why you'd pick 100 horses. Right.
Imagine a fucking duck-sized horse then.
I'm just hoping you can feed it some bread and peanut butter and it'll choke to death or something. Like a loaf of bread, spread it with peanut butter, so you choke to death, motherfucker.
No, I think I'd go for the 100 horses and just hoof them. Even if I broke my foot, you just have to go for it, wouldn't you?
What are you saying, Ed?
Literally for the same reason, just because it'd be so much fun. I'm hoping this happens now.
Yeah.
I'll somehow set this up. Cool. Well, I just want to say a big thank you, mate, for coming on and being our first guest.
Pleasure.
I think it's going to be a good episode. I think it's going to go down well. Yeah, I like it. Great content, good knowledge, and hopefully some nice applicable stuff as well. So, Ed, anything else, mate?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. So I think there's a lot of things here that people can take away. They might need to listen to it twice to take everything in, because I think there's so much content here. But yeah, thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you very much for having me, boys. Means a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome, mate. Where can people find you then? I don't know if you want to throw out your Twitter or your socials under your website address and any ongoing projects you want to plug.
Not on Twitter. Just going to put it out there. I'd rather drag my balls over a cattle grid than ever be on Twitter. Hate it. Facebook, The Flexible Dieting Coach. Website, The Flexible Diet Coach. Not dieting for some reason. YouTube, The Flexible Dieting Coach. I think that's where the majority of my work is going now, is there, and Instagram. Again, Instagram handle, The Flexible Dieting Coach. So programs coming up. Nothing until October. That 12-week program that I ran, the Get Strong, Get Lean, where I basically get men strong and lean. That's running in October. But before that, we've got a recipe book coming up with Ben Warren, who has got a very big following on Instagram. So we're going to be creating something for that. Again, there's little snippets on my Instagram with regards to that. And then just online coaching, obviously. And if you're ever in the Cardiff area, pop into UFIT and we can have a chat and a coffee.
Cool. Well, I'll make sure. Well, when we host this, we'll make sure we put obviously all the links and stuff up in the show notes.
You say you, we all know it's going to be me.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, Ed.
No, brilliant. Cool. Right, well, let's end it there, shall we?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Because Matt's not here, Ed, press the button.
Thanks for listening to the No Nonsense Nutrition Podcast. We'll speak to you all next week.